It's another day's journey, and I'm glad about it. Oh, I'm so glad to be alive. Said he woke me up this morning, and I'm glad about it. Lord, I'm glad. Oh, Lord, I'm glad. Said he woke me up this morning, and I'm glad about it. I'm so glad to be alive. Said he gave me health and strength, and I'm glad about it. So glad about it, y'all. Oh, I'm glad. Oh, he gave me health and strength, and I'm glad about it. Oh, I'm so glad to be alive. Oh, I'm glad, so glad. Yes, I'm glad, Lord. Yeah, I'm glad. Oh, so glad, Lord. Gave me two legs, gave me two hands, Lord. Gave me two eyes. I can see out of both of them, Lord. Gave me two ears, Lord. I can hear out of both of them, Lord. He gave me a mouth, Lord, so I can praise him, Lord. Oh, I'm glad. Whoa, Lord, I'm glad, Lord. Slept on a nice bed last night. Had a roof over my head, Lord. Food on my table. Oh, yeah. Anybody glad this morning, Lord? You ought to be glad. Well, you ought to be glad, Lord. It's another day's journey, and I'm glad about it. Oh, I'm glad. Hey, I'm glad. It's another day's journey. I'm glad about it. Oh, I'm so glad to be alive. Hallelujah! 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 Somebody didn't beg it! Somebody didn't beg it! Somebody didn't beg it! Somebody didn't beg it! Hey! Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Somebody didn't see the sun rise this morning. Hallelujah! Somebody didn't see daybreak this morning. Hallelujah! Somebody wasn't able to walk out of their room. Somebody wasn't able to step out of their bed. Somebody wasn't able to walk out of their door. Somebody wasn't able to drive to church. Somebody wasn't able to praise the Lord. But hey! Hallelujah. And I will rejoice
Hallelujah.
and be glad
Amen.
therein.
Thank you, Lord.
My soul shall make her boast
Glory to God.
in the Lord.
Hallelujah.
God is good.
All the time.
God is good.
All the time.
And I will praise him.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Glory to God.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
Hallelujah. Now,
Thank you.
we go into the past day service. Hallelujah. Sister Joe. Amen. You have a program or anything? No? Amen. We thank God. All right. Amen. We're now is in the past day portion of the service. Missionary Jones is president of the Pastor's Day. And every year, amen, they bless us, their pastor. Amen, beautifully. Thank God for my Pastor's Day. Amen. Amen. Thank God for my Pastor's Day. Amen. They work hard and diligently, selflessly. Amen. Thank God for them. Now, amen, we're now going to turn the remainder of this service into the hands of our Reverend Chris Burgess. Amen. And he will conduct the service in the way that seems fitted to him. God bless you.
Amen.
Praise the Lord, church. Praise the Lord. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. God is good. And all the time. God is good. You can have your seats. Amen. Elder Jenkins was singing my testimony. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. And I've learned how to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned to depend upon his word. You know, you got to learn how to trust in him. It don't come natural. But it is through the crucible of suffering that you learn how to trust in him. Amen. So I have to say thank you for my struggles, God. It's my struggles that taught me how to pray. Amen. Through it all, I've learned to depend on his word. We give honor to the Spirit of Christ who is in this place. To Pastor Viola Muse Burgess, Bishop Timothy Burgess, all of the ministers and evangelists in their respective places, to all of the members, and to the pastor's aide. Come on, help me celebrate God. I can't clap just yet, but could y'all clap for me? For the pastor's aide, that's right. Let's celebrate. They hold up the pastor's arms. Amen. They hold his arms up so we can keep fighting. Y'all know how they held Moses' arms up, and while Moses' arms was up, the children of Israel could continue fighting. That's what the pastor's aide do. They hold up the pastor so we can continue the good fight. So we honor the pastor's aide, and the truth of the matter is, even if you are not on the pastor's aide committee, every member of the church is a member of the pastor's aide. Amen. We're all here to aid the pastor. As God gives our pastors vision, it's our job to be their aid. So we celebrate you, pastor's aid, on today. There is a word from the Lord housed in the third synoptic gospel, Luke. Last week I was hearing a sling, but the sling is off today. Not totally healed in my flesh, but I'm claiming total healing. I'm just waiting on God to manifest it. But I believe that it is done. Luke chapter 10. Luke 10.
verse 38. Luke 10:38. You have it signified by saying amen. Amen. If you don't mind, could you rest to your feet if you're able? Let's honor the word of the Lord today. If you're able. If you're not able, go ahead and sit down. But if you're able-bodied, please. It reads, "Now it came to pass, as they went, that he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha," can y'all say Martha? Martha. "Received him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was cumbered about much serving, and came to him and said, Lord, dost thou not care that my sister has left me alone to serve, or has left me to serve alone? Bid her, therefore, that she help me. And look at Jesus. Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things. But one thing is needful, and Mary hath chosen that good part, which shall not be taken away from her. Word of the Lord is blessed, and so are you. But before you sit yourself down, and if you can stand to look at your neighbor, and say, hey neighbor, how are you this morning? You look good this morning. I mean, you look good. Tell them the preacher is going to preach from the preaching subject, the needful part. You ought to give God praise. Come on, I said you ought to give him praise. Talking about the needful part. You can have your seats. God, I pray even now that you will hide me behind your cross. Cover me with your blood. God, strengthen my body. In Jesus' name I pray. The needful part. Y'all know who Mary is, don't you? You know what Mary we're talking about right here. Don't you know who I'm talking about? We're talking about that Mary. You know the one who used to put needles in her arm. That Mary. The one who used to stroll the red light district. That Mary. The one who didn't care nothing about if he was your man. If she wanted him, she would come after him. That Mary. She could drink a sailor under a table. That Mary. She wasn't afraid to hang with the gangbangers. She wasn't afraid to carry a gun. That and proud Mary. Mary was on fire. Yeah. Problem was she was on fire for the wrong master. Amen. For her reputation is that she was a harlot. She was a street woman. She was a street person. She wasn't somebody who you would think would ever be church material. They would look at her and never see an evangelist. God, I'm preaching already. They would look at her and never see in her an usher. They would look at her and never see in her a child of God. But one day, she came across Jesus. And what I like about Jesus is that Jesus can see things in you that other people can't see. Jesus can see in you what God put in you. And even though you might not yet be what God has called you or created you to be, I thank God that Jesus can look at me and see the seed that's in me. And understand that all the dirt that I've been through wasn't me being buried. I'm preaching better than y'all saying amen. It wasn't me being buried, but it was me being planted. And see, the difference between something being buried and something being planted is that there's purpose. There's purpose in the seed being planted. Because when you plant a seed, you always expect a harvest. Jesus and Mary had a meeting one day. And when Jesus saw her, he didn't see only the demons and devils that were in her, but he saw the seeds of greatness that was down inside of her, and he cast out the demons. He cast out the devils that were tormenting her. She was being tormented. She was being tricked. Is there anybody in here that's ever been like Mary? You wasn't a bad woman or a bad man, but you was a good man or a good woman in a bad fix. Is there anybody in here besides me and Mary that's ever been caught up and we was just in a bad fix? You couldn't see your way out, even though you wanted to get free, but there were demons and devils that had you bound, and it took the Lord of heaven and the universe to touch you himself. Mary came across Jesus and he changed her life. He picked her up, turned her around, placed her feet on solid ground. Now, some of y'all can't get happy about having your feet placed on solid ground. But if you ever been on shaky ground before, you can appreciate. If you ever had to wonder where your next meal was coming from, you can appreciate being on solid ground. If you ever had to wonder how you were going to pay your bill, you can appreciate being on solid ground. If you ever really been sick and didn't know how you were going to get well, you can appreciate being on solid ground. I thank God for putting me on solid ground. I have not yet attained, but this one thing I do, I press toward them. I ain't got everything like that I want. Don't have all the money that I want. Ain't in the best of health, but I thank God because I'm striving, I'm pressing toward. I thank him for putting my feet on solid ground. He turned her life around, put her on solid ground. She could see clearly now. She was singing that Dionne Warwick song. I know some of y'all ain't never listened to nothing like that, but I know y'all so holy. But Dionne Warwick sang a song I can see clearly now. It said the rain is going. Well, let me give you a hymn. I once was lost. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I can hear Mary singing that second verse. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. But grace that brought me safe thus far, and it's grace that shall lead me on. Jesus turned her life around, and she was grateful. Now we see her. She's at her sister's house. That same Jesus that turned her life around has now come into her sister's house. And because she is so grateful, all she knows how to do is give him honor. and give him glory. See, when you are grateful that the Lord has brought you up out of a horrible pit, anytime you are in his presence, you give him glory and you give him honor. When you are grateful that he straightened out your minds and cast the demons off of you. Is there anybody, and I know I ain't going to get a whole lot of people to clap because y'all too ashamed of it, but is there anybody in here that's ever been under the control of demonic oppression? And when you get free from going through something like that, you don't care what's going on. You don't care who's around. You don't care where you're at. But whenever you sense that the Lord is present, you want to sit at his feet. That's where we see Mary at. Jesus comes into the house, and she immediately sits at his feet. But Jesus didn't come by himself. Jesus always had a crowd around him. Can I go deeper? He always had a crowd around. We are familiar with the 12 disciples, but Jesus had more than 12 disciples. Jesus always had a crowd around. If you read the beginning of this chapter, it talks about how Jesus commissioned 70 ministry workers, and he anointed them. He told them to go all out and preach. Said, don't go to the Gentiles, but go to the lost house of Israel and preach salvation. Tell them that the Lord has come and salvation is at hand. There were 70 of them. Jesus always had a crowd. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you could heal the sick and raise the dead, there'd be a crowd around you too. If you could feed 5,000 hungry souls with 2 little fish and 5 little barley loaves of bread, you'd have a crowd too. But what happened was, see, whenever Jesus starts to take people deeper, the crowd starts to dwindle.
Come on now, I like that.
Because Jesus told them one day when they were on the sea and there were so many people that the crowd was pushing him back toward the water. He had to get on a little boat. He started teaching them and he told them that except ye eat of my body, except ye drink of my blood, you don't have no part of the kingdom. That was a hard saying. That was some hard teaching. And see, whenever you preach hard truth, I'm talking about the needful part. Whenever you preach or teach hard truth, everybody can't accept it or handle the truth. Look at your neighbor and ask him, say, can you handle the truth? That's why we can't really tell our real testimony in church. Because if you really knew what I went through, you wouldn't want me standing up here preaching to you. I'm preaching better than y'all saying amen. If you really knew what the person next to you has been through, you might want to put up your little holy finger and move your seat. But I thank God for everything I've been through, because it was through it all that he taught me how to depend upon his word. The crowd started to dwindle, but there was still a crowd around Jesus. And that's what we see in the text. That's why Mary is devoted to Jesus as she sits at his feet, but Martha was distracted by the crowd. She was distracted because she felt like she had to do a whole lot of serving. See, there was a crowd that she felt needed to be served. And she was distracted by the crowd, but unknowingly, she allowed Satan to enter into her spirit. And she allowed Satan to sow seeds of discord in her heart. And she had the audacity to call Jesus on the carpet
My God, my God.
She had the audacity to question the Lord of heaven and of the universe and say, carest thou not that my sister has left me to serve alone? Who does she think she is? Asking God, do you care? Who does she think she is? Acting like she can come and give him some information that he don't already know. Who does she think she is? Thinking she can call the maker of this entire world out on the carpet and ask him, do you care? If it would have been me, I would have said, do I care? Don't you know I care all the way to the cross? I care so much that I came down through 42 generations. I cared so much. Jesus cared so much that he poured out his divinity and put on humanity and came down to this. Do I care? She ought to read 1 Peter where it says, casting all of your cares on him, because he, is there anybody in here that knows that he cares for you? When nobody else show you love, he cares. When people are scandalizing your name, he cares. When sickness is all in your body, he cares. When you are on the unemployment line, he cares. That's why you got a job right now, because he cares. That's why your heart is beating right now, because he cares. And if he ever stopped caring, you couldn't catch your breath on a red-eye flight. If he ever stopped caring. Carest thou not that she's left me to serve alone? She was distracted by the crowd. Her mind was more on entertaining. See, she missed it. She missed it. Can I go a little deeper? And then I'm going to leave y'all alone. Y'all look like y'all want to go home. I'm going to leave y'all alone. Give me a couple minutes. She was focused on entertaining the crowd. Let me say that again. I'm talking about the needful part. She was focused on entertaining the crowd. What she should have been doing, instead of saying that Mary ought to be doing what she was doing, she should have been doing what Mary was doing. She was focused on entertaining the crowd when she missed out on having an experience with the Christ. God, I'm preaching better than y'all said, amen. She was focused on entertaining the crowd, and that's some of our problem right now. That's why many churches are all messed up right now, because their focus is on entertaining the crowd. Preach, Chris Burgess. They think that they got to have the right musician. Or they think that it takes a certain person leading praise and worship. They think that it takes a certain person standing up preaching. They think that it takes exciting the crowd. But they're missing out on an experience with Christ. I didn't come here to be entertained. If I wanted to get entertainment, I'd go to Broadway. But I come to the house of the Lord to have an experience with him. Because them people on Broadway can't heal me when I'm sick. They can't pull me up when I'm depressed. I come for an experience. She missed it. Questioning the Lord as to why her sister ain't serving. Why her sister ain't helping her work? Can I go deeper?
Come on now.
Y'all give me 5 more Baptist minutes. Y'all know I'm Baptist-costal. I'm in the middle. I'm Baptist-costal. Give me a couple more. Give me a couple more minutes. She thought that working was more important than worship. Thank you, baby. She thought that works were more valuable than worship.
Yes.
But my Bible, I don't know what your Bible, you might have torn a page out of your Bible, but my Bible says that we are saved by grace and not by works. Lest any man. Somebody gonna help me preach. You are not saved by your working. You work because you are saved. Can I say that again? You are not saved by your works, but you work because. Is there anybody in here that's not ashamed to say, I'm saved by his power divine? I'm saved. New love sublime. Now life is sweet and my joy is complete because I'm saved. See, Mary was devoted. Martha was distracted. Mary understood where her help came from. See, works cannot keep you in that blessed place. God, I'm preaching better. Works cannot keep you in that safe zone. Works cannot keep you from sabotaging yourself. And if you are an honest Christian, do I got any honest Christians in the house? Come on, where my honest Christians at? Where the honest folks? If you are honest with yourself, half the stuff you get yourself in is not an attack of the enemy, but it is self-sabotage. And see, let me put the cookies on the table. The needful part is to stay at his feet. Because when you are at his feet, you can't be out in the world doing all kinds of stuff. See, that's why I stay at his feet, because I ain't that strong. I'm not that good. If I don't stay in his presence, my flesh will get weak and I'll start to fall. I've got this needful for me to be in his presence because stuff can call me back because the flesh is weak. But the spirit is willing, the spirit is strong. Is there anybody in here besides me that you need to stay at his feet? Because you got demons that will try to cause you back. Because you got old habits that if you're not careful, they'll get you entangled with. They'll get you wrapped up again. But I hear the Lord saying that blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law do I meditate day and night. This is the need. I need the needful part so I can be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. Is there anybody in here today that you don't mind giving him the needful part? Because Mary was worried about many things. She was cumbered about many things. She was troubled about many things that were needless. But her sister Mary, she understood what was needful. Even though Martha neglected what was needful, I'm determined that I'm not going to be in that crowd. I'm not going to neglect the needful part because I need the Lord to keep me, because I remember when I was sinking deep in sin. So far the peaceful shore very deeply, staying within, seeking to rise no more. Is there anybody in here today that it took love to lift you up? Because when nothing else, I said when nothing else would help, it took love, 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 love. It lifted me up. That's why she's at his feet. She's giving him the needful part. She is worshiping the Lord for all he has done for her. She is sitting at his feet, getting the word, because she understands that his word is a lamp unto my feet. And I got any Bible readers in here today, that his word is a light unto my path. I need thee every hour. Is there anybody besides me that need the Lord every hour? I don't come here to get entertained. I don't come here to see a show. I don't come here for a fashion show. But I come to thee every hour. Oh, bless, bless, oh, bless, 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 bless me now, my Savior. Is there anybody willing to come? See, that's why you can't just stay home and go to bedside Baptist church, but you've got to come. I said you got to come to him, because in his presence is the fullness of joy. Anybody need joy today? Anybody need joy today? I'm so glad that when I came to Jesus, just as I was, weary, worn, and sad, I found in him a resting place, and he made me glad. Anybody need joy today? Well, get at his feet. Anybody need happiness today? Well, come to his feet. Come where the table is spread and the feast of the Lord is going on. I come to his feet so I can worship him. That's the needful part, because I owe him my praise. I owe him all the glory. I owe him all the honor, because one Friday he died. Didn't he die? I said one Friday he died. Didn't he die? But bright early Sunday morning, he got him out the grave with all power in his hands. Ain't you glad he got power? Well, give him praise. Somebody shout, yeah! 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 I know the man is all right. I said, I know the man is all right. He all right. If he ain't all right with you, he all right with me. I'm gonna give him the needful. I'm gonna do the needful part.
Thank you, Lord.
As I go to my seat, Jesus, remain standing. Remain standing.
Glory to God.
Jesus uncovers Mary, Martha, but he covers Mary. He uncovers Martha and telling her, you troubled about many things. Your real issue ain't about what we talking about. You troubled about many things. It's just coming to a head now. You troubled about many things. But your sister chose the good part. She got just as much issues as you got. But she pushed her issues aside. See, that's what we got to do when we come in his presence. We bring it to the Lord and leave it there. And we worship him. She was troubled. She had issues and problems that she thought her works, she thought her works would cover her issues. She thought selling chicken dinners in the church would, y'all don't hear what I'm saying, would cover her issues. She thought selling boosters and raffles would cover her issues, when all she had to do was be honest with herself and God. And just sit at his feet. What I like about Mary is she was sitting at his feet and she was quiet. When you sit at his feet, you don't need to say a lot. You don't need to tell him all your problems. He already knows. Just come on, clap your hands for God. Just come to his feet.